This is BYU Sports Nation, presented by the BYU Store. Simulcast on BYU TV and BYU Radio. Now live from Studio B, your hosts, Jerem Jordan and Dave McCann.
BYU Sports Nation is live, your day-to-day play-by-play in Studio B, presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. It's Friday, February 4th. Thanks for being here. I'm Jerem Jordan, teamed up with a guy who looks pretty good in formal wear after sleeping outside last night in the tent city.
Yeah, and that
Dave
blue one.
McCann.
It's invigorating out there. Let me tell you, BYU fans are something else. And
in what way, Dave?
They're still all out there, and they're still, you know, a lot of them are, you know, they've got little things like there's a representative in there representing four others, and then they change out. Look at this.
Yep. Hey, look at this.
They're ready for the game tomorrow night. Despite what happened last night or the last week and a half, that's what fans do, and more power to them. They might all be in the hospital on Monday, but
right.
They still got a cold night to go through.
Yeah. You got a luncheon coming up or something? You hosting something?
I got blue, and I thought I'd go with a blue and white
nice.
check.
It almost looks too nice.
Not all of us have a hockey jersey for the last home hockey game.
Last home hockey games tonight and tomorrow for BYU hockey. An early rise and shout-out. We'll talk about it. So they were so cool. A couple years ago, Ven and I dropped the puck at a game, and they gave me a jersey. It was so awesome.
It's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It's like the most oversized thing I own. So
As it should be.
This is technically a sweater. That's how they refer to it, which is pretty awesome.
All right.
Fun fact, BYU hockey had a couple games on BYU TV in 09 and 10.
No kidding.
I called those games. That's the only thing I can hold over Gregor Bell's head is that I've called hockey and he hasn't.
Miracle on Ice.
The Canadian.
Was the Miracle on Ice part 2?
Fun fact, no one explained any of the overtime rules. I thought it was 5 like the NHL. It was 4. BYU made a shot and they all come out. And I was like, and BYU wins. Because I thought another guy was rolling out there.
Somehow we all managed to get through that together.
We did. Okay, here's the show lineup. It's a heavy one, but let's do this together. What the heck happened to BYU Hoops in the last 8 days? What happened? We discuss our biggest concerns. Steve Cleveland is going to talk some sense into us. He'll join us in studio to discuss the situation. 70th birthday for Cleve today.
He's celebrating his birthday with us, and he's smart, and he'll be able to walk a lot of people through some very difficult hours.
He's been through a few of these,
And if the team's listening, they'll probably benefit as well.
Yep. Yoli Childs goes off in the G League, and Preston Hadley says BYU football won't chase star ratings and recruiting. Will that change when BYU's in the Big 12? But first, a plethora of headlines.
Cougars lose their third straight game, falling to San Francisco last night, 73-59. Alex Barcelo, 25 points. Tough test tomorrow. BYU hosts number 2, Gonzaga. You can listen to that game on BYU Radio at 10 Eastern Time. Yeah.
Cougars are now officially on the bubble as the 8th team in. Still in the bracket. Those of you that think BYU's out, they're not. Not yet. According to ESPN's Joe Lunardi, if the Cougars don't upset number 2 Gonzaga tomorrow night, probably out on Sunday or barely in. So we'll see. Let's go.
16th ranked women's basketball team. They suffered their first loss in conference play last night, just their second loss all season, 75-64 at Portland, which is pretty good. Shaylee Gonzalez had 16 points in the loss. BYU travels to first place Gonzaga to face the Bulldogs at 5 Eastern Time. That's a big one tomorrow as well.
Yeah, that was rough. But, hey, maybe they built from that and got woken up in some way, and they're amazing down the stretch. But huge game tomorrow.
Don't fall behind by 14.
They took the lead with 2 minutes left, and then just couldn't hold on. We have a top 10 men's volleyball matchup tonight. Number 9 BYU hosts number 10 Ball State, who's 5-0, took down number 1 Hawaii twice recently. Watch it on BYU TV and the app tonight, 9 Eastern Time.
18th ranked BYU gymnastics team hosting Boise State. That's tomorrow afternoon, and you can watch it live on BYU TV and the app at 2 Eastern high noon local time.
So we'll do 3 broadcasts in like 26 hours.
Yeah.
In the same space. Which is
crazy.
Which is pretty wild.
Shout out to everyone at the Smith Fieldhouse.
Oh, they're awesome. Ashley Hatch, former women's soccer player here, makes the most recent roster for the USA national team, who will play 6 matches starting in 2 weeks. She's one of the best, if not the best ever. Michaela Coulihan's pretty good.
Yeah, she may be the best, though.
Yeah.
Yoli Childs, he was pretty good. Remember he knocked off Gonzaga a couple years ago?
I do remember
He was awesome that night. He had 31 last night and 12 rebounds in a Salt Lake City Stars loss against the South Bay Lakers. Same 2 teams tonight. Good luck to Yo.
31. Nice.
Yeah.
Other BYU teams in action this weekend. Track and field spread out in New York and Washington, and here at Weber State. Swim and dive continues day 2 at Air Force, and women's tennis plays Boise State tomorrow.
Micah Simon is signed with the BC Lions of the Canadian Football League. Spent time in the early 2021 season with the Carolina Panthers in the training camp. One of our favorites. We wish him the best up north.
And John Beck and Austin Collie had some time with the BC Lions. So there was a kind of a BYU connection there. And BYU Hockey hosts its home games, final home games as a sanctioned club in extramural this weekend, both at 9 Eastern at Peaks Ice Arena in the Utah State Cup. And as we mentioned, an early rise and shout out to BYU Hockey, who's going to be Cougar Hockey, won't be officially a club. They can still play. It's just they won't be able to have that moniker of BYU after this weekend. All rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending.
You're talking about it, and so are we. It's What's Trending on BYU Sports Nation.
What's Trending is presented by Bodyguards, protection for a life worth living. Learn more at bodyguards.com. 8 days ago, BYU was 17-4 and feeling pretty good. Then a 1-point loss to Santa Clara, 3-point loss to Pacific, and then last night's 14-point loss to USF have sent this team spiraling downward. Mark Pope says the team is being tested in this current stretch.
We're just in a place where we just got to, we got to go find some answers. The game is really, really testing us right now, and that happens. And right now we're getting tested, and we're having to kind of continue to see if we can, if we're going to fragment apart or pull together. And I got a lot of faith in my guys that they'll answer that test.
Tested is the operative word here. So, Dave, what's your greatest concern with Cougar Hoops right now?
Watching it last night and Pacific and Santa Clara and comparing it to what we've seen all season, I've been surprised at how fast they've lost their identity. Like, I'm not even sure what they do on offense outside of try to get Alex Barcelo open, and we saw some shots being taken. And Chris Burgess was here yesterday talking about, it's an offense where you shoot the open shot. But we saw some guys shoot shots that had no business shooting those shots when they shot those shots at key parts of the game, especially when BYU got down to 8 after being back behind by 21. And it's just like, what? They call a timeout, and everyone looks a little lost. And there's even a different look to Mark Pope. And we'll ask Steve Cleveland about this in a couple of moments as to how you put Humpty Dumpty back together again. But I'm just surprised he fell.
Yeah.
And there was so much collateral damage.
Right? There's a lot of eggs sitting there that you're like, where'd this come from? It's just really weird how quickly this happened. Yeah. And you're right. There's a lack of juice. There's a lack of kind of mojo and confidence that we've seen in amazing ways this season. Even without Gavin Baxter and Richard Harwood, this team got to 17-4. Got as high as 12th in the AP poll early in the season after the Oregon loss. We're a long ways away from the Oregon win. We're a long ways away from that. It felt very weird last night because even after being down 21, BYU gets it down to 8. Tijon Lucas, who's one of the best free throw shooters BYU has, AB and then Tijon, he grazes the iron twice. He had an air ball in the first half from the free throw line.
Horrible game.
Something's going on there. And something happened after the Santa Clara game. It's super obvious. Something happened after that game where this team lost something. I don't know what it is, but the best locker room in America has to be that to get over this. It doesn't feel like it is right now. And it feels like BYU took out its frustration and anger on San Francisco in the form of 3 technicals last night.
Right.
Yes, those were moments where BYU's fired up. It was bigger than the San Francisco game. BYU's got to rediscover what they had before. It's on the court on offense, and then some form of trusting each other off the court as well. I
thought the way the game started, Alex Barcelo was, hey, this is how we're going to be. We're going to fight. That's kind of been their mantra the whole season, is that this is a team of fighters. Mm-hmm. And so they've overachieved with 17 wins because they outfought teams. They outfought San Diego State. They blew out Oregon, but there were some games where they just fought harder on the glass. They didn't fight the last 3 games. And they showed some fight. I said last night, the Cougars showed some toughness last night, mixed in with some of the worst basketball we've seen all season. And that's kind of, instead of just a fight the whole time, it's we're gonna fight like they came out of the gate and up 12-4.
Yep, AB scores the first 8.
Yeah, and then San Francisco comes back, and I thought, as I saw this, well, they just withstood everything we had, because then we went dormant, and they went on a huge run.
Plus 29 at one point.
And then it was over. Then the game was over. Even though we made a run and got it to 8 in the second half.
It was still over. Yes.
It was over.
I think BYU might have lost the game before it started. We just didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
And what's funny is it wasn't like BYU got blown out or worked last week. It was a 1-point loss and a 3-point loss. but that unraveled something that we didn't know was easily unravelable. That's not even a word, but
it is today.
It is today. You just had ly. It's an adverb. You talked about identity and the loss of that. Here's Mark Pope on how the team is struggling with that.
For whatever reason right now, it's been super hard for us to kind of know us on the offensive end and consistently be us. We're thinking maybe it's some mashup stuff. We're thinking maybe it's some anticipated growth stuff that's not quite caught up. We're thinking about it's clearly on me a lot of it's communication issues, and but we got to figure that out because it's just not us, and it's not going to be good enough for us to be successful.
It's not, and Gonzaga's sitting there tomorrow, Dave. Now you could argue, hey, if you can find a way to beat Gonzaga, you have covered the sins of the last 3 games. Certainly, It just feels like that's a tall task given where this team's at the last 3 games.
Yeah, I mean the optimist would say, and it's been proven almost every night in college basketball, that somebody rises up and surprises somebody. Pacific was a 303 in the net, and they rose up and beat BYU, and no one saw that coming. Gonzaga's not Pacific, but it's just the opposite. People aren't going to expect BYU to do this to Gonzaga, which they have done before.
With worse teams, which is interesting. With NIT teams.
Yeah.
This team is currently an NCAA tournament team. It may become an NIT team. We hope not. But it's trending that direction, which is the bad news. So in those games, Dave, I felt like when BYU won, they at least matched up in some form or had some advantage. I don't know what the advantage is for BYU over Gonzaga other than like a great crowd, right, which gives you a lot of juice. But ultimately, you've got to make shots and defend and rebound and make free throws. So the front court certainly, like, what happened to Foose last couple games? Atiki's playing nice, which is great. Career high 10 last night.
Playing his best.
Or did he have 12? But what happened to Foose? What happened to a low post catch? I don't know how BYU could possibly match up with Chet Holmgren and Drew Timme, given what we've seen the last couple games.
A couple of weeks ago when they were up there, they shot 42%, 44%. Maybe their best game of the year shooting the basketball.
Game out 110.
Gonzaga shot 69 point something percent, and that game was over early. Even though BYU was going inside, they were hitting outside shots, which they didn't do either last night, except for Barcelo. And I don't know. A couple of times they went into Foose and Masalski, who dominated everything down there, knocked the ball away, and then they didn't go down there anymore.
Yeah.
And so, and with Atiki, he had a big game last night, but every time he scores, everyone's like pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
As opposed to feed the post, that's 2 points.
Yes.
And so that's the difference with Gonzaga and BYU. They feed the post to their All-American, Timme, and they expect he's either going to get fouled or he's going to score. BYU feeds the post with these guys who are young and getting better, and it's like, are you gonna pass it back out, or are you gonna shoot it?
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure they know even at that moment. I thought Atiki showed great signs last night that he's heading that way. We've seen that out of Foose.
Yeah.
Foose might have hit a freshman wall. Sometimes
perhaps
we see guys do that, but Foose was a non-factor, and Atiki made himself a factor when he made 3 straight baskets. But then it was like, we'll just go back to him, and it's okay. We did 3 there. Let's try some other stuff. And then we had an air ball from the corner, and Spencer Johnson missed 3 shots that had to go in that weren't even close. And Yoli, we mentioned him a moment ago, that feed the post. Feed Yoli. He's going to score or get fouled. Yep. That's the difference between our interior game today against Gonzaga going tomorrow and what our inside game was when we beat Gonzaga when they were number 2 here a couple years ago.
It could be the best thing ever to have Gonzaga if BYU somehow miraculously pulls it off. It could also be the worst thing ever. Here's Mark Pope on the matchup with Gonzaga tomorrow night.
We got a ton of season left. We have a lot of great performances under our belt. We just got to find a way to overcome this really tough. It's been a really tough three game stretch for us. Unfortunately, we have a little bit of a lightweight team coming in here Saturday.
That's fantastic. Okay, let's talk about what's ahead for BYU. So after Saturday, let's hope BYU wins. If they don't, not the end of the world.
We'll be back here Monday.
We'll be back here Monday. Exactly. BYU's got LMU and Pepperdine, St. Mary's, LMU and Pepperdine. Okay, you need to win 4 of those 5. You probably need to win in Moraga to get into the NCAA tournament. Maybe not. Maybe you need that.
Or beat them in Vegas, but you're going to have to beat them.
The fear now for BYU is that you are like the 4 seed, and you're matching up with Gonzaga in the semis now, and now you don't have that semi to get you another win for the NCAA tournament, which brings us to the resume update. BYU drops 4 in net, still top 40. That is a bubblicious metric right there. Okay, Ken Pom 36, down 8 spots. That's a big one. That was a big drop. Bracketology down 2 seeds, huge loss, and then team rankings down 18%. Yeah, BYU's in a spot where they're trending out of the tourney.
Listen,
right now, but trending out.
Right now they're trending to a Saturday or a Friday in the WCC tournament.
Oh, Friday would be World War III.
Right.
That would be bad.
But what are they, 5th place now in the league?
Yes.
And
the hope is they're top 4.
Tomorrow, if you know, that's where they're going. This is where they were, and this is where they're going in a week and a half. Because the rest of the league, San Diego is all of a sudden ahead of BYU.
Yeah. And San Diego has to play some of the tough games.
Yeah. So does St. Mary's.
Yes, St. Mary's is going to lose some games, but they're the clear number 2 right now. I would say San Francisco's the 3. I'm talking best teams, not conference order, right? Okay, our question of the day. What's the greatest concern surrounding BYU basketball? Let's get to you in Voice of the Nation.
This is the Voice of the Nation on BYU Sports Nation.
At Cougar Stats, we always bring the 4 shooting and high turnovers. 173rd in 2-point percentage, 112th in 3-point percentage, 174th in turnover rate. Additionally, their 2-point percentage has been even worse than their season numbers for the last 2 months. So
I don't think the turnovers killed them last night. It was the 12 or 13 missed free throws and the missed layups. Those were like turnovers.
Yes, the free throw line just killed BYU. I think, it's probably a close loss instead of a, what was it, 13 or 14-point loss. I just feel like BYU just didn't have it. And those technicals were a manifestation of kind of where this team's at. They took it out on the Dons.
Yeah.
And I shoved that guy back if I'm Caleb Lohner too, because that was garbage. But that was bigger than that moment. It was a real frustration. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night with Gonzaga. It could be like the perfect thing ever, or it could be terrible.
That's what we'll watch.
That's why we watch.
That's why fans are going, and the crowd will be huge, and because you just don't know. Yeah. And when Mike Tyson fought Buster Douglas in February of 1990, nobody knew that Buster Douglas was going to knock him out, and it happened. So we need a Buster Douglas moment tomorrow night at the Marriott Center.
Mama gonna knock you out. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. Coming up, which BYU basketball loss will have a greater impact on Selection Sunday, the men or the women who also got beat last night?
And Steve Cleveland has some answers, we think. He's been through this before. What happens with BYU Hoops next?
He doesn't have the answers. He's going to say a lot of stuff, no matter what.
Yes, he will.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Bodyguards. Protection for a life worth living.
Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork offers a large inventory of Ford vehicles, including a selection of cars and trucks, providing a range of transportation choices. From the Ford Fusion sedan and the Edge crossover SUV to a range of pickups including the F-150. Each product line comes with options to enhance performance, comfort, and safety. Think Ford, think Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork.
Hi, Spencer Linton here, letting you know when your company joins the BYU team as a corporate partner, your brand can be featured in sports programming on BYU TV and BYU Radio. In addition to all of the great games, you can be part of the BYU coaches shows, place your message in Countdown to Kickoff, basketball pre- and post-game shows, and each weekday on BYU Sports Nation. We invite your team to join ours and become a corporate sponsor of BYU Athletics. For details, email sponsorship@byu.edu today.
There are things happening in Seaburg.
The
care more about people spending money than they do about people getting sick.
If they're causing toxic pollution, it is everyone's fight. We can't just let them get away with it.
If anyone can figure this out, it's my brother.
Friends don't abandon each other. Fine. Be heroes.
I know what it's like to love someone so much you'd do anything for them.
Whatever happens, I'm glad we're facing it together.
Me too.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
Tonight, the 9th-ranked men's volleyball team hosting number 10 Ball State. Will David Gardini return after an ankle sprain last week? You can see the match and find out 9 Eastern, BYU TV, and the app. Jerem, Steve on the call. Should be a fun night at Fieldhouse.
It will be a very fun night. Let's go. Okay, we're live in Studio B, day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. Jerem Jordan, Dave McCann, and happy 70th birthday to this man, Steve Cleveland. Happy birthday, man.
This is our gift.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, well, there you go. It was going to eventually happen, and it did.
Lunch is on Dave.
70 years. What was the best year?
The best year? Oh man, I've had too many best years. Yeah, I'm just happy to be alive and have pretty good health and be with my family. It's awesome coming up here and visiting my kids and being with you guys.
Saw you on the second row last night.
Second row, that's the best I could get.
You're off to a good year.
It's off. Maybe
One day
you'll my best day.
One day you'll get to the first row. Yeah,
exactly.
BYU plays UC Irvine occasionally. I always think I know an Irvine anteater.
Yes,
one
exactly.
Steve Cleveland.
There's not many of them around.
The long hair, man. That's awesome. Okay, so the best thing is that it's your birthday. The worst thing is that we saw you yesterday. We're like, hey, Cleve, come in and chat about what happened. But we think you have some answers because you've been through the ringer in similar situations, Steve, of teams that succeed at the highest level, and then other teams you've got to help out in some way. So what are you seeing from this team the last 3 games that's been different?
I think something that a lot of people haven't talked about is that when you get to the second half of conference play, people make adjustments. And where Foose was getting deep post touches maybe early on in conference play, all of a sudden he's getting pushed off the block. They're top-siding him. They're making him shoot over them and through them. Everything's contested. That alone is a significant thing because he's been really, really important to this team in terms of being able to score inside, and it's been really difficult for him. I think the second thing is that Barcello is so difficult to guard, but now what's happening is that they're switching everything, hard hedging, sometimes trapping him, where he's got to take the ball back and attack. Now, he can score 25 points against anybody. The key thing, when they take all of that away, he doesn't get into the seams where people have to help and guys have wide open threes. And there's been very, very little of that the last 3 games because of the schemes of coaches are doing and preparing for BYU. So it's they're getting a different look, besides the fact that they shot 50% of their free throws and had a hard time shooting the 3 ball. I mean, those things all contribute to it, but you got to give a lot of you have to pay attention to what teams are doing to you and make those adjustments.
Now, you inherited a team that had gone 1-25 before you got here. You went to 3 big dances. You won the Coach of the Year in the Mountain West, the 2001 conference tournament. I think, is that the only conference tournament?
We're still waiting to equal that.
You got that going for you. But I know there were times when you and Dave and your staff looked at each other and thought, what are we going to do with this team? Because it wasn't always rosy, and you had some difficult seasons. Yeah. There were different times in those seasons. What did you do to figure it out? You know,
I think what's really important is your relationships with guys. And I think the best teams that I ever coached were kind of player-led, and they have a great leader in Barcello there that is the leader of this team. The culture's there. Those things are there. I think you have to get one-on-one with these young people. You got to let them know, watch film, work. I used to, when guys had shooting slumps and things, I'd actually go in the gym and work out with them. I think the relationship between Coach Pope, they've got an amazing staff. But when things are down, you got to reflect on the positive. You as a coach, you have to say, hey, these are the things we got to get better at. But they got to keep believing. And this team is, for me, watching them over the last 2.5 years, this is a group, a coaching staff and players that trust each other. There's great continuity in everything that they do. They're doing all the right things. They're going through a difficult time right now. I think you need to be positive, but also in a situation where guys got to believe in themselves. And obviously, these last 2 or 3 nights, big possessions late in the game.
All right, let me ask you this. How lonely of a feeling is it as a coach in a frustrating phase and moment to turn around and look at your bench and there aren't any answers there?
I've had a lot of teams like that.
We're not just talking Fresno State. Some of them have.
I'm just telling you, man, my whole life I rebuilt programs. So if we started from scratch, whether it was high school, junior college, and it is difficult. It is difficult. And you got to have, the one thing is you got to believe in these. They got to know you believe in them. And no matter whether they miss short shots or they turn it over, they have to stay positive here, because Saturday is going to be difficult. There's no question. But going forward, they have 5 more games.
Yep.
The most difficult is St. Mary's.
Right.
They go to St. Mary's and win and take care of business. They're still a bubble team. They'll have an opportunity to go to the NCAAs. They can't let last night's loss impact the next 6 games. They're going to have to play really well to beat Gonzaga. If it happens, great. But there's still a lot of season left. And they go beat St. Mary's at St. Mary's and sweep the table. I believe they have a great chance to get in the tournament.
They had a players-only meeting. How many players-only meetings can you have, I guess? And then when sort of there is unrest in the locker room, and it unravels, how do you ravel that back? Like, is it, the players have great leadership? It feels like there's great leadership on this team, but it's certainly being challenged right now. And they talk about the best locker room in America. That's got to come together, and very quickly.
And these things are really hard to be the best locker room in America when you've lost 3 games. It really tests you mentally, physically, and emotionally. And so I think as a coaching staff, you look for the positive and the negative, work through it. But it's hard. I mean, it's really, really hard. And I think they have to see the big picture. They can't give up on their goals, getting to the postseason, getting to the tournament. The window is still there. And if they get stuck on last night or what's happened, or stuck on maybe a potential loss tonight, then it'll go south pretty quick. I just don't see that happening with his coaching staff. I mean, I have so much respect for Mark and his group, and I think it's a player-led team. I mean, maybe right now there is a little dissension, but they lack confidence. You can see that. They missed a lot of chippies. When you miss half your free throws at home, man, that's hard. That's hard to digest, and it gets down. So you got to keep pumping them up and being positive with them. There's no other approach than that.
There was some positive last night in Tiki's play. Career highs, and he was a dominant force blocking shots, double figures for the first time for a guy who's still figuring it out. But as you look at a Tiki and go, that's the center for the next 3 years, along with Foose, how do you feel about that? I
don't think it's enough. I think if you have Harward and Baxter playing right now, a lot of that stuff at the rim gets taken care of. We haven't said a whole lot about those 2 guys not being here, but at the end of the day, that's a different game. It's a different team. Those 2 freshmen are amazing. I love their energy. They're excited to play every night, and they're going to get better. Hey, when they're juniors, they're going to be in the Big 12.
Right.
Okay?
Right, yep.
And you need about 6 of those guys to compete in the Big 12. It's like one of the coaches said. He said, the Big 12, I'll tell you what the Big 12 is like. That's like playing Gonzaga every week.
Every week.
And that's kind of what it's like.
Yeah.
And so they've got to have size and athleticism. I love both those guys. I just love their energy and their passion. They're just sweet young men. I mean, they just love the game. And so, yeah, Tiki did play well. And he's bouncy, and I'm not giving up on Foose, but everybody goes through it as a freshman, and
he's going through it.
He's going through it, and it's not easy, and it's easy to lose their confidence, and that's why coaches and senior leadership has to step in and say, hey, you're okay, man. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Even if BYU's playing well, it's probably unrealistic to expect a win versus Gonzaga. You certainly hope for one. So what do you want to see from this group, given what's going on right now, tomorrow night against the Zags?
I think the key thing is being strong with the ball, that playing together. You miss shots. Don't get down. You play as hard as you can possibly play in front of those 20,000 fans that'll be there tonight. And that's what people appreciate. You know, the likelihood. BYU has a history of beating this team. This is a really special team. You're coming off 3 losses. I know it's probably not probable, but they've got to play like it is probable, have that confidence, and just not give up. I think you see that in some teams and programs. I just don't see this team giving up. I just don't see it among the coaches. I don't see it among the players. They have a lot of good leadership. They're going to have to overcome some adversity. Really, to be honest with you, in 2.5, 3 years, this is the first real adversity this coaching staff has ever had to deal with.
Amen. This is the most kind of negative I've felt in 3 years.
They've not experienced that. Now, Coach Pope and his staff, they've been around at every level. They'll deal with this. That's part of what it is. But don't get stuck here and then have it impact the next 4 or 5 games. And I just think the staff and Alex and others, Lucas, they've got enough leadership here that they can get through it.
I think the challenge with the Zags, too, is BYU's the only team that actually gets their interest up. And they're on ESPN Saturday night.
It's true.
I think they're depressed that BYU's going to the Big 12 because look at the schedule. It's like, well, we beat everybody else all the time by so many points. So they come in, too, with their focus. They shot 69% against BYU last month.
Well, and think about BYU putting up 80-some at Gonzaga. Okay, they put up something 80-some. We're going to have a really good game, and they got to be loose. They can't be tight and tense. And I think hopefully there's some quick hitters. There's some adjustments offensively that they can do some things. They've got to get into seams where guys need to help. If nobody's ever helping defensively, then you're always taking a contested shot. And it's hard to shoot 50% when they're all contested.
And what's the matchup where you can get in an advantage where you require the help? That's the question. I felt like in the past, Eric Mika can match up with Karnowski or whatever, right? This one, it's tough. You hope the veteran leadership of Lucas and Barcelo can create something there. Because certainly in the front court, they got it on everybody. Yeah. Literally everybody, Holmgren and Timmy. That's tough.
That is tough. But your seniors need to play well. I mean, Barcelo, Lucas, they need to step up, play well. And Gideon looked nervous last night.
Maybe the starting job was a little much for him.
Whatever it might be. And I know Lohner has been a little bit of a struggle, but guys got to keep believing. They got to keep talking positively. There's nothing that comes. There's no good about talking negatively here. I mean, you just have to look forward and say, hey, we have the potential. If anything, I'd watch highlights from the Gonzaga game. Before this game, I would probably have 20 clips of guys making baskets against Gonzaga, even in a loss, so they see and can feel and believe that they can do it again.
Your former assistant, Dave Rose, in a tough spell. What can you tell us?
You know what? I talked to his brother. I had talked to Cheryl earlier in the week because Kip and I were going to go and see him. Yeah. And he had kind of an infection that developed. He ended up going back up to the University of Utah. And we're hopeful that he's going to come home Saturday. And I just God bless him and his family, and this has been a difficult thing, really, really difficult thing. So our prayers are with him. He is a fighter. I mean, look at all the things he's overcome.
Absolutely.
And we love Dave, we love Cheryl and her family, and God bless them. They're in our prayers. But man, it's a struggle. There's no question. But he's a battler, and we hope he wins another battle here.
Absolutely.
It's good to have you with us.
Happy birthday, man.
Thanks, man.
I know you moved to California to play more golf. What are you doing for your birthday?
Not a whole lot. I'm with my grandkids. We went to see the Jazz play. That was fun. Wednesday, though, it looked like a G League game with all the guys out. And all
the we need you. Let's go.
All the protocol. And in fact, I talked to Danny Ainge, and Danny said that he had been a G League game before. I said, yeah, that looked like a G League. He said, I went the night before. Yoli was the biggest guy on the floor. And then the next night we got the same thing. So the NBA, I love the NBA, but right now it is really strange.
Yeah.
It's very strange. Okay, thanks, man.
You. Appreciate
Good to be with you.
Coming up, why it's not about chasing stars for BYU football.
And Jimmer Fredette's living rent-free in Klay Thompson's dome? What's that about? This is BYU Sports Nation.
Dexter & Dexter is a full-service law firm offering a wide range of legal services. Since 1995, we have helped more than 20,000 Utahns both to navigate life's challenges and to make the most of life's opportunities. From personal injury to business law, and from adoption to bankruptcy, we are passionate about shouldering your burdens. To learn more about scheduling a no-obligation consultation, visit dexterlaw.com.
Familiar with the BYU TV app? Yes.
I beg your pardon?
Sure, it's got great original TV shows. But it also gives you access to family films for free.
Wow. Awesome!
So gather around, grab some popcorn, and let us do the rest.
It'll be fun.
Watch some of your favorite films anytime, anywhere. With a free BYU TV app.
I like it.
BYU Sports Nation is brought to you by Maersk, enabling global trade for a growing world.
18th ranked BYU hosting Boise State tomorrow, 2 o'clock Eastern Time. High noon start. You can watch the meet live here on BYU TV and the app.
Here's Dave. I am Jerem. This is BYU Sports Nation. You can interact with the show. Follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Let's whip it. Coug Whip Around is presented by Maersk, your integrated container logistics company enabling global trade for a growing world.
Which BYU hoops lost last night will have a bigger impact on Selection Sunday? They both lost.
Yes, I think there's much more margin for error for the women. Just the second loss. They're going to make the tournament. That's just what they. Men's hoops, it feels like, oh geez, without that one, you probably got to win in Moraga and or a semifinal in Vegas.
Yeah, big games tomorrow against Gonzaga. Even bigger for the women because they have a shot to win that and be in first place.
Yes, if the men pull off the upset against Gonzaga, this is probably even when Gonzaga was #1, this would be the biggest upset from BYU over Gonzaga.
You're not shaving your head Monday.
No.
We're past that.
I did that already. it took 10 weeks.
It
was way too long.
I'm just saying.
It did work. It was the first of the 3. I want to take ownership over that.
You should.
Yoeli Childs dropped 31 points in the G League last night for the Salt Lake City Stars. Do you think he'll get a 10-day contract at some point?
I don't know. I wish he would because no one's making shots in the NBA. And you turn the TV on, like Steve just said, any given night, you can't recognize 7 guys out there. You can't tell me they're all better than Yoeli Childs. Sign him up.
I'd love to see it. It'd be awesome. Eric Mika got a 10-day. Elijah Bryant had a cup of coffee with the Bucks, won a title. So it'd be fun to have another guy in there. You know.
Cup of hot chocolate, I think he had.
Yeah, post him maybe.
Bucks.
Post him.
Top 10 matchup volleyball tonight on BYU TV. What do you expect? You'll be on the mic?
Yeah, I expect a great game. Ball State's really good. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they come in here and knock off BYU at least once. And the young Cougs, the baby Cougs, you got Davide Gardini, a couple other seniors, but you got a sophomore setter dealing with an injury. Hopefully Zio Myers in there, and you got Mix Romanis, a freshman who had 45 kills in 2 matches last week. He kind of his breakout performance. I think we're going to have some really competitive matches, and I think BYU being at home is always special.
I love that it's set up where fans who are camping up for the Gonzaga seats can go over to the field house and thaw and not lose their place.
That's important.
In line. They can go watch the volleyball game tonight. It'll be rocking because it always is in the field house. And then they can go back to the deep freeze.
I've had mild hypothermia before. Not fun. Not fun. The story for another day. Is Ashley Hatch the best women's soccer player in BYU history?
Well, there have been some good ones. I think she's doing what she's doing right now, unprecedented with a BYU player moving forward.
Yeah.
And it'll be fun to watch her in the World Cup, and all that stuff. So, she's moving that way. Jimmer is still considered one of the greatest players ever who doesn't hold the scoring record. But he just did it with pizzazz and style, and then he just kept doing it. And so then his legend grew. And as Ashley continues to do all this stuff, she was a great player here, but she does all this. Like Danny Ainge, what he did with the Celtics. He was a great player here. Look what he did. He was spectacular. His legend grows back here.
Add to the resume.
I think it can happen for her too, even though Coulihan, they've had some great players.
Yep.
But she's going to represent Team USA. That's cool.
If Coulihan can get to the level where Hatch is in the NWSL or another league, I think that it's it is a fun conversation because Hatch was on the championship-winning team and scored the most goals in the league and is with the U.S. Yeah. So her professional resume is incredible. Coulihan, to me, is the best player BYU's ever had in college. Shauna Robach scored 95 goals. That's still like top 10 in NCAA history or something. But Coulihan is the best player BYU's had in college, better than Hatch. So it's a pro versus college career thing, but Coulihan's going to play in the NWSL for the Orlando Pride, so that'll be fun.
Steve Young kind of that way. He was a good college quarterback. He was a great NFL player.
Not the best BYU quarterback, but certainly the best BYU pro ever.
Yeah. After scoring 23 points and hitting his first 7 shots last night, speaking of Jimmer, Klay Thompson says he plays well against the Kings because he remembers who Sacramento chose at number 10 of the 2011 draft. And that would be Jimmer, who was taken one spot ahead of Thompson. Does Jimmer still own space in not just Kawhi's head, but Klay Thompson's as well? Does Klay Thompson not have anything else going on? He's got to focus on Jimmer?
Klay's response was, not me, and we know that it was Jimmer. So I don't know that Klay is necessarily like, it's Jimmer for dead. But listen, Klay, you didn't want to be on the Kings? You won titles on the Warriors. Like, you won in this equation. Come on, man.
Yeah, find something else to motivate.
Absolutely.
Coming up, where our double down results are. Were they better last night?
I got some beef with one of the questions there, or responses, okay?
Yeah.
We'll chat about it. And will BYU football's recruiting philosophy change in the Big 12? A comment from Preston Hadley that's up for discussion. This is BYU Sports Nation.
This is where we dominate. Our playground, place of business. This is our promised land, where we seek to find ourselves. And we're here to make sure the spaces our best prove themselves on appear how they should. Intermountain Healthcare, official medical provider for BYU Athletics.
My name is Spencer Finnegan. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. During my sophomore year, I got married to my sweetheart, Mary, and there's tons of unexpected expenses when it comes to marriage. We were looking for scholarships. I found the replenishment grant, and my local alumni chapter gave me a grant to help me focus in on school. I'm so excited to, now that I've graduated, give back to those students that are coming to BYU in the future.
I know what it's like to be overlooked, to be doubted, to fly under the radar. I only had one offer coming out of high school, but I was ready for every moment, every opportunity, and every shot that I got. Now I'm playing professional basketball, aiming to be one of the best shooters on the planet. And I'm just getting started. Be ready for your moment with Rapid Reboot, the future of rapid recovery.
Take it in.
Somebody, how's it going?
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
Here we go. BYU hosting number 2 Gonzaga tomorrow night at the Marriott Center. Coverage begins at 9 Eastern with Cougar Pregame Live on BYU Radio with our friend Jason Shepard. Greg Wrubell and Mark Durant will have the play-by-play on BYU Radio and the app. It's also on the mothership, ESPN, for all the world to see.
Big game for all the world to see. Hopefully it's a good thing to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. Okay, welcome back to BYU Sports Nation, live from Studio B. Jerem Jordan alongside Dave McCann. So on signing day, Preston Hadley, defensive ends coach for BYU football, was asked about recruiting and stars and whatnot, and you know, ratings of classes. Here's what he had to say.
You know, we're going to continue to be try and be the best at evaluating that we can, but we're going to just continue to elevate and just focus on our own evaluation. We're not going to go chasing stars, you know. So I know everyone gets all worked up about recruiting classes and everything, but you know, those don't always correlate, and at least not with us. I can't speak for other programs.
Okay, so let's break that down, because I think the average fan would be like, well, yes, the signing class ranking matters. Yes, we would like more 4 stars than none. So what he's saying is certainly, I believe as well, relative to BYU, which is, hey, this is a unique place. It's got to be a great fit, obviously, with the honor code and whatnot. But the no chasing stars part, what do you make of that?
The stars thing is strange. One, there's so many stars. You know, look up in the sky. There's stars everywhere. The rating systems are strange. Jacob Conover was a 5-star, announced he was going on a mission, suddenly dropped to a 4-star. Did that make him any less of a player? Why isn't he still a 5-star? Well, he's not going on the market for 2 years or whatever. It said no to Alabama, so we're going to lower him a star. So it's hard to know what the stars mean outside of they give you hype. Kingsley, 5-star. All right. How the drum has been sounded since he decided he was transferring from Oregon because, well, he's a 5-star. So you get a lot of hype that way, and I think Preston's response is the general response of, hey, where are all the stars? Not where are the star players, it's where are the stars off to the side, and why don't we have 5 stars? And a lot of those aren't going to come here. And I think his point was, at BYU, it's about getting the best you can, but you got to develop. And Tyler Algier and Tyler and Wilgar, and you just go down the line.
Zach Wilson goes from
Dax
3-star to second pick.
Yeah, Dax Milne, a walk-on, developed, went to the pros. Wilgar, walk-on, developed. Algier, walk-on, developed. I think that's kind of what he was saying is, look, BYU's in the development business. You got to go get the best Latter-day Saint athletes out there, period. And Kalani made that perfectly clear. That was the #1 priority. And then you got to get the best that will fit your program after that. And if they have a 4 and a 5-star next to them, nice. And if they don't, you got to develop what you have to win. And BYU has a history of doing that. I thought that kind of was the context of him saying, yeah, we're not going to chase all 5 stars. We can't get all 5 stars. But look what we can get and look what we can do with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think whenever you run like a business, let's just say BYU football is a business, what's our unique value? What are our competitive advantage here? That BYU's attached to the church. That's the #1 advantage BYU has. So if you're a kid who is a Latter-day Saint, the possibility of coming to BYU, it's not for everybody who's a Latter-day Saint or a member of the church, but it is for a lot. And if you can start getting more of the Gabe Reed, Houston Heimuli, Tanner McKee types that went elsewhere, I don't expect them all to come here. But I think more would when BYU's in the Big 12. That's #1. And whether they have 4 stars there or not may not matter. BYU has thrived with more 3 stars than they have 4 or 5 stars, I would argue. But I would also say this about the stars, and I agree with Preston. Almost any time there's a 4-star who actually enrolls and is here, most of the time that's a starter. So I would love to see more of those guys who are fits and have the stars. I think that's the perfect combination. Having a high star rating does not mean you're going to be great or even an NFL player. But most of the time here, it does mean you're a starter and an impact player in some capacity. So I would like to see a little more of those.
I think, too, as Kalani mentioned the other day, a lot of the guys that BYU sign, no matter how good they are going on missions. So they're not starters, per se, because of their stars. They're going to be a starter in 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, if like Hagan goes on his mission, he'll be a starter when he comes home.
Yeah.
But not this fall.
And it depends when he leaves.
Yeah.
Like literally, Kalani mentioned in that press conference on Wednesday after he joined us was, hey, the data shows that that first year back, they need to probably gray shirt or red shirt.
Absolutely.
They get injured.
Did we see Chase Roberts this season? We hear great stories about him. No, we did not. We will see him all next season.
Yes. In November, there was a lot of conversation. Blaine coming on the show saying, hey, Chase Roberts looks really good.
Yep.
He redshirted. So he's a redshirt freshman who's going to be one of the main guys at receiver, an All-American.
With a full year of practice back before he takes the field.
Getting healthy and hamstrings and we just see it all the time. So let me ask you this. When BYU's in the Big 12, does this philosophy have to change at all to try and compete for championships? I think if BYU doesn't, they could probably pull off some 8-4s, 9-3s in the regular season. But we're talking about competing in that conference.
Well, I think when you're talking about chasing stars, you're going, I don't know if we can get this guy or not. Let's spend all our time there trying to get him because he's going to choose between us and Texas and USC. Or do we go get the stars that we know we can get? Because there are 4 or 5-star LDS kids. You got to get those. Or at least you got to sell what you got to try and get them.
Yeah.
And so that's a no-brainer. But if Texas and Oklahoma are in on this running back who's a 5-star, do we go spend all our time getting in that mix as well? Or do we go, let's go to the stars where we have a shot? And I think there'll be more shots because of being in the Big 12 of 4- and 5-star LDS kids And those who want to come to BYU and be in an honor code place and be in a place where, I mean, our 2 centers of the basketball team are devout Muslims. Love it here. Come to BYU where they can feel at home, develop, have a great experience, and BYU can sell that better than anybody. And, you know, the 6'6", 5-star Latter-day Saint quarterback, you go after him absolutely with everything you got because you already have a built-in niche. That doesn't mean that they want that, but you have a built-in niche. So, yeah, that's when you go, but I don't know if that's chasing stars. That's targeting stars.
Yeah, I see what you mean by that. Listen, would I like BYU to be in the 30s or 40s in recruiting? Yes. But it doesn't mean they can't compete for a Big 12 title. I do think BYU needs to climb into the 40s to feel like they have the talent to. We're talking when you're competing for a Big 12 title, you're going to have to win your division. That means 0 or 1 losses most years. Okay, that's in league. That's a special year. Initially, my goal for BYU is to have a winning record, 5-4, and be like, all right, that's good. Go 3-1 in non-con. You're 8-4.
Go to the Alamo Bowl. Have a great time.
Let's go. You know, Utah last out won to Texas a couple years ago. You know, that's like a bowl game of renown. So we'll see what BYU does. Can BYU get more of those members of the church? That's the question. If they do, now they're doing better. Yeah. And all it takes, honestly, is like 3 more of those guys a year. Yeah. That would make a difference.
And you know what does it all? Put them in the NFL. Stars want to go where they can go to the NFL. And BYU is in the process of putting kids in the NFL now.
Getting better.
And then some of them make $35 million. Coming up, why it's Blaine and Jason's fault for the recent slump for BYU. Blaine's in Mexico. I have no problem throwing that on him.
Extreme ownership on display today. And a rise and shout out to BYU hockey. This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Food to Go's convenient location at 2191 North Canyon Road in Provo makes bringing popular BYU foods to your next event easy. Everything's ready when you need it at the drive and load pickup. You drive in and they load no matter the weather. And stop in the on-site creamery for great BYU chocolate milk and ice cream. BYU Food to Go, bringing campus to your table. Call for details, 801-422-5001.
Introducing the all-new 2021 Nissan Rogue. A fuel-efficient car that's compact enough to park just about anywhere, but has enough cargo space to fit your hobbies, your kids' hobbies, and your dog's hobbies. It's equipped with the latest safety and efficiency technology for a smooth and quiet ride wherever you want to go, whether it's through the neighborhood or across the country. Are you ready to Rogue? It's at Tim Daly Nissan Southtown.
I watch BYU TV because it has good programming for all family members, aligns to my values.
BYU TV really does help me with my parenting. It helps me show my kids good examples of the way that we should live.
No matter what you watch or listen, you always leave feeling better.
All of us together.
Family comes in a lot of shapes and sizes. With 4 corgis, there's never a dull moment in our home.
Boots was born with 2 very special front paws. Just because he was born different doesn't mean he doesn't deserve a chance. For him to be able to run freely would be life-changing.
If I put this wheel in the front of him, then he'll have a lot more stability and balance.
Derek's help in this journey, it's truly a dream come true.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics.
BYU Sports Nation is always available on demand via the free BYU TV and BYU Radio app.
Download the podcast. You can Google BYU Sports Nation podcast. And then don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our show.
Okay, double down picks from last night look like this. Dave, how'd you do, man?
Didn't work out. Remember, it was Foose against Misowski, and I thought Foose would have more points and rebounds for them to win. And Foose had 1 point, and Misowski had 16 points and 13 rebounds. So he won that.
Just missed that.
Lost on that one.
Yep.
And I had that. I felt Lohner would have to do something. He would have to get 14 points or more. This isn't the concept of how they could win the game, and he shot 1 for 7, 2 points, so nothing for me. on that one, and he and the guys will have to take their shots tomorrow night.
Yes. I went 2 for 2. It was a good night. Alex Barcelo or Caleb Lohner scored the first points.
With a quick, low-paced 2 for 2?
Because I'm used to it, dude. Barcelo came out hot, hit the first 3, got a point. Alex Barcelo shoots 50% plus from 3. Ding. 3 of 5 from 3, so I get 3 points. It's been a minute since I did that. I'm quite
Congratulations.
pleased. I'd like to thank my family and the account.
As you should. Thank your daughter.
And Spencer. Okay, Spencer.
Now you have a beef with him.
No, I have a beef. Spencer didn't send any picks. These are producer picks, okay? So he shouldn't get any, but he got one, okay? Tijon and Seneca combined for 20. That didn't happen. But Ben Bagley, the all-wise producer, said, someone from BYU get a tech. Weren't there 3 on BYU? Like, this is the most technical foul-heavy.
That was a bottom
he
of the
gets a
barrel
point.
thing. He got
Come
a point.
on.
Look, if this was look at the standings. If this was a Vegas fight, it would be stopped.
2 techs, only 2 on BYU. I'm still up 15.
Yeah.
But I should be up 16. Anyway, okay. What do you have for tomorrow night?
The Zags won't score 100.
That's where we're at.
They scored over 100 in Spokane.
110.
So they're not going to shoot 69% from the field. And I'm going to roll the dice on Tijon.
You went Vegas guy.
Double digits for Tijon. He's going to make all his free throws.
Oh, I like that.
It just wasn't him last night when they really needed him. I think he bounces back tomorrow night.
That was weird. Like, air ball and graze the front end of 2 1-and-1s. It's like, you're one of the best here. Yeah,
tough.
When it was down to 8, BYU will out-rebound the Zags. Okay. And then 2, Gonzaga's top 3 scores will count for fewer than 60. They had 72 in Spokane.
Top 3, less than 60.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's still not very aggressive.
Timmy's not going to get another 30.
No 30s, yeah.
Okay. They shot lights out and,
it was crazy.
And all that stuff. We had never seen it before.
Spencer's picks. BYU will trail by 10 plus. These are producer picks, I believe, right? BYU will trail by 10 plus at half. Okay. It's not a homer pick, but all right. And Alex Barcelo outscored Chet Holmgren. Okay.
Chet had 23, career high last night at USD, and 12 rebounds. They beat them by 30.
He's not like a high 20s guy because Drew Timmy's there.
Yeah.
He would be next year, but he's going to be gone. He's going to be playing for Charlotte.
Somebody, we hope.
With LaMelo Ball.
That'd be great.
Our question of the day, what's the greatest concern surrounding BYU basketball? Our elite voice of the day is presented by Sundance Mountain Resort at Jonathan Hawk. So Spencer Linton and Jerem Jordan haven't been on the set together at BYU Sports Nation for almost 2 weeks. The men's basketball team losing streak has taken place during this time. Coincidence? I think not. Time to get the dynamic duo back together ASAP on BYU.
I agree, because for the second straight day, I've had a 7:30 a.m. conference call. I think Spencer should get back here pretty fast.
Yes, it's not the greatest.
I don't even know where he is.
Yeah.
You know?
We don't know either. I think he's on vacation somewhere, probably on a beach in Mexico or something, enjoying his well-deserved
But Monday,
rest.
the band will be back together. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, no, you know what? Whatever it takes to win, minus shaving a head and voodoo, okay? Today's Rise and Shoutouts are presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics. Let's shout out BYU Hockey, hence the sweater wearing today, playing the final games tonight at 7, tomorrow night at 7 at Peaks Ice Arena as the BYU Hockey team. It's been a great run.
Great run. Good luck to everybody. Have fun on the ice. Atiki Ali Atiki, another shout out, played his best basketball game of his collegiate career last night against some big guys from San Francisco. Got to keep it going. Big days are ahead. The Big 12 is ahead. And I wish Atiki and the guys the best of luck tomorrow night.
Amen. Thanks to today's guest, Steve Cleveland.
Great to have the coach here. Dennis, sorry, it was a tough week. We were busy. Conversation continues 24/7 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook using the hashtag BYUSN.
For Dave, I'm Jerem. Shout out to Nate Austin. See you tonight for men's volleyball. Go Cougs.